What is up, everyone? Welcome to L2R2, the PlayStation Podcast. My name is Fonzie. I'm joined by my co-host, indie game dev, and my UK bruv from another mum, Callum Monroe. Callum, how the heck are you? The internet's working. Lights are on. Life is good. How you been?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I don't know if you should have said the internet was working because I'm definitely not confident it's going to hold out for as long as we need it to. But yeah, good. I was just saying to you just a minute ago, we're on a bank holiday over in the UK, so it's a nice, relaxing time at the moment. But yeah, just getting used to life in Brighton and everything still. But yeah, other than that, just been eating lots and lots of food and drinking beer and all that stuff as life begins to return to normal very slightly.
Yeah, well, beer and food is the American way, so you're speaking my language, Callum. Are you still doing any training to kind of like balance that out, or are you just going full force into the drinking and eating?
Yeah, I haven't done training in a while, but since I've moved to Brighton, I've been walking a lot just because everything's like within walking distance. So I've just been walking around the city, getting to know it and everything like that. So yeah, I haven't been in training, but yeah, making sure I'm sort of at least keeping active when I'm walking to get beers or walking to get food. So that's
Gotcha.
the sort of that's the sort of way to balance it out, is to, if I want something to eat, I've got to walk there and get it.
Yeah. We mentioned the internet's working. I feel like with our 5G powers combined, the internet, and I have my, we're streaming now with that 3070 on my PC. It's like everything should work. If anything, we should have, crazy signals and FPSs out the yin yang, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I got this card and I do this thing where I throw whatever I can at it to see how it performs, but I don't really play the games. I just kind of like mess around with the settings for an hour and then move on to the next one. But I'm pretty stoked, and I thought it would make my life feel more complete. It didn't. I still have that emptiness inside, but I don't know what will fill that void. But I do have the card now, and it's running.
It's because you need a new monitor that will fill the emptiness.
I'm working on that. It might be traveling towards me right now, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, because you had a 2070 before, didn't you?
Yeah, 2070 Super. And it worked, really great. And then I made the horrible mistake they'll never forget of selling it and thinking, oh, maybe I'll try and get something else and stream on a laptop. And there's 2 months of that just depression. And that depression hasn't lifted, but I do have the card now.
Yeah, I mean, you'll definitely notice the lovely high frames and high resolutions when you get a new monitor. But at least you've got it. You've got the hard part. You've got the you've done the difficult bit. So now you can just relax and get everything else when you need to.
Yeah, and I am stress testing because I really don't play in like 4K, but I have this 4K TV that's plugged into. So I'm trying various games at 4K, and it's holding at like 60 frames per second. Like last night, I just jumped into the Resident Evil 8 Village demo and on PC, and so it gives you all the different sliders and options. So I can do 4K ray tracing and it's holding like strong at 60 FPS. So it's a pretty powerful card. And although there's more settings you could toggle, if you go like max everything, my card just starts to melt. So there's still like progress to be done. But let's segue into that. So I jumped into it again, the Village demo. You've had a chance now. It was one of the news stories, but they've extended it for a full week now. So they heard our cries and our anger. We have a week to play this demo. You jumped in. How far have you been able to play it? What do you think?
Well, I tried to jump in last night, and it told me that I still had to wait 9 hours before I could play it. So I still haven't actually been able to play it. So I just don't. I think it might be on American time. So it's just really strange times over here. I just don't understand. I mean, because yesterday was Saturday, and I was like, it must be ready today to play. I mean, I've had it downloaded since last weekend. It's just not letting me play it. And I went to play it yesterday, and it said I had to wait another 9 hours, which I think at the time was like midnight. So hopefully if I was to turn it on now, it would let me play it. But I've actually been playing Returnal today instead. So
I see. Gotcha. We'll get into some Returnal talk. But hopefully by next week, you'll have some experience. Well, you know what? Screw that, because next week the actual game comes out, and which caught me off guard, because for some reason in my mind, I put Resident Evil 8 as end of May, but it's just literally next week. So it's coming in fast. I imagine we'll see reviews this week too, right? I feel like that embargo is going to
I think Wednesday is when the reviews are dropping.
Gotcha. I'm pretty stoked. How, if you can foresee like the reviews coming in, what do you think this thing is going to rank? I feel like they're very confident with this game, Capcom. I think they're going to nail it. How do you think this is going to go with reviewers out there?
I think, I mean, you know, I love Resident Evil, so I'm sure I'll love it, definitely. But I'm not sure. I think looking at the newer gameplay, I'm not sure it looks sort of quite as good as I was expecting. I think it may be like low 80s on Metacritic. I know that's still a really great score, but I think because the fact it's Resident Evil, it'll probably get scored high anyway. But yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it. I don't know whether it's the demo that's rubbed me the wrong way or whatever, but there's just something off about it. But I think it does look great, and it seems like it's got a lot more of that fun sort of Resident Evil charm, like with the merch and the sort of wacky enemies and everything. So I'm really, really excited to play it and get into it. But yeah, I'm not sure it's going to be like I think it'll probably be the same as Resident Evil 7, where, you know, everybody enjoyed it, but it was nothing, you know, hugely groundbreaking like Resident Evil used to be with Resident Evil 4, even more recently the Resident Evil 2 remake. I don't think it'll reach heights quite like that.
That's interesting. It's kind of giving you these weird vibes. I have the opposite effect where after playing the demos, I'm excited for more, you know, actually jumping into the game. And there's bits that remind me of RE4, and I feel like they're consciously doing that with just like the menu alone, how you can move around your items and save space that way. You have the merchant there, but just like the castle or the village vibes remind me a lot of the actual place in RE4 where you start in that village. I get a lot of these vibes, and I feel like they're leaning into that, and I'm excited for them to lean in and kind of capture some of the magic with RE4 and then go forward. And I even have these thoughts in the back of my mind as I'm playing the village demo, where it's like there's a lot of assets they could carry over to RE4 remake, which they're working on now. It's like I wonder if there's stuff that they can just transfer over, maybe to kind of streamline that development. Not everything would work one for one, but no, everything I play and just watch, like I'm super excited, and I feel like it is going to blow us away. I think you're wrong. I think we're going to be like low 90s is what I'm projecting there for the reviews.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, yeah, I do love Resident Evil, and I would like to see it sort of, especially the main series, like really reach that height again. And yeah, I think it does look great. It reminds me a lot of Outlast 2, with the kind of weird like characters and the setting for sure as well. And I really liked that game and liked that setting. So I think it's definitely a really, as much as it does remind me of Resident Evil 4 as well, I think it still seems like a very new sort of setting for the series in the way they've approached it. And I think that they definitely seem to be playing on some strange mystery and drama as well with Chris and this family and everything. I think the latest trailer that I dropped very recently, which seemed to focus more on the story, that definitely has got me excited. But yeah, I think it was just from watching. I watched some gameplay. It might have just been the video in particular, but it just didn't seem as next gen as maybe I was expecting in some ways. But again, that I could be completely wrong in my sort of worries, and it could just be me getting rubbed the wrong way from this demo and sort of subconsciously letting that affect, cloud my view on it. But no, I can't wait for next week, and hopefully, like you said, I'll be completely wrong and everyone will be blown away by it.
Yeah, I hope so too. And it is interesting because, yeah, you are such a big fan, but you're willing to be critical and not just like, absorb the hype and kind of follow it blindly. So I definitely respect that, but I'm just getting totally different vibes where I think they're going to nail it. I really hope they do. I think everyone obviously hopes they do. But yeah, I can't wait to jump into this. And we haven't even been able to really interact with the tall lady too. So it's like already 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 game of the year with the tall lady. So, and I refuse to call her Dimitrescu. It's tall lady forever for me. So that's the hill I'm dying on.
Yeah, it's easy, isn't it?
Yeah, just like Baby Yoda, tall lady. It's like we decided we're going to change the name. But yeah, so there's some Resident Evil talk there. We'll see what you think of. I think by next weekend, the actual game, we'll start to get our early impressions next week. We can jump into some of the news articles we do have here. We mentioned Returnal. We can give our, start talking about it. We've played it a bit now. I think you're about a couple hours in because I was scooping and sneaking and watching your progress online, so some of the achievements or the trophies rather. How dare I? So with Returnal, let's go over some of the Metacritic stuff and we'll jump into the nitty gritty. But so far it has an 86 on Metacritic, which is pretty dope. So Game Informer gives it a 96. Returnal is a relentless nightmare that's a dream to play. Push Square gives it a 90. Roguelike aspects mean it won't gel with everyone, but for those looking for a challenging, addictive arcade shooter, this comes highly recommended. IGN also gives it a 90. The moment-to-moment gameplay of Returnal is sublime. Its big issue is that it runs last way too long, and there's no way to say progress outside of putting the PS5 in rest mode. GamesBeat gives it a lower score here at 60. This lack of variety in the style of play makes every run feel samey, and they begin to blur together. That leads to a roteness that made me want to put down the game when I was struggling with difficulty. So we'll dissect difficulty and our experience with that, but how do you feel so far jumping into the game? What are your kind of early impressions with it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely really, really love it. And I can sort of sympathize with both ends of the sort of spectrum of reviews. I think it definitely, I definitely don't like it as much as I thought I would. I think it does some things not too well. I think it doesn't give you enough sort of permanent progression, I don't think, to sort of make it really, really enticing to go for another run through straight away. And I'm having some troubles with how fiddly it is as well. I feel, especially with the traversal, I think the platforming in particular, I'm constantly falling off the edge of things, and it's really fiddly to jump onto things. It feels like when you like land on a platform, she like bounces and she'll just bounce off the edge. And so there are definitely some gripes I have with it, but it plays really, really well. The story has completely that's the one thing that's really sort of surprised me, is how great the story is. The performance of the main character is really good. Like picking up her audio logs is such a cool sort of idea, and finding all the different corpses of herself, and it's very mysterious and very intriguing. And that's the main thing that's really wanting me to try and push through and get sort of further in, because I actually do find the story and the way it's told really, really interesting. But yeah, I think it's really great. And I think the further I get, because I still am yet to beat the first boss, I nearly got him on my last try. So hopefully the next time I get in there, he'll be mine. But yeah, I think it definitely could be done a bit better in the things it gives you in each run. There's not a lot of, I find myself quite confused as to what is permanent, what's not, what certain things do. And I don't really get that feeling that every time I die, the next time I go in, I'm going to be stronger and I'm going to have a better chance, which for me is quite an important part of these kind of games. So, but yeah, other than that, I'm really enjoying it. And I think as I get further, I'll enjoy it even more as well.
Yeah, so I'm having the same kind of experience where I'm really liking the game.
You've frozen, or you're looking at me very angrily.
Okay, let's see. Let's give it a second here. Am I picking up yet? Still frozen? You look good to me. Maybe you froze now too, I think on my end. We'll give it a second to pick up here and see.
Are you there?
Yeah, I can see you. I can hear you. I can see you and hear you. Interesting. So you can't hear or see me. Man, it was going good there for a while. We'll give it a second.
I can hear you now.
Okay. Well, and then you just jumped out of the call. Let's see. He's jumping back in.
Ooh.
How about now? Yeah?
That's all good.
Oh, the last thing I heard was, I can hear you now. And then boop. And then you just like removed the call. Damn, we're doing so good for a while, but it was just a little hiccup.
Yeah,
many more, right. I'm sure will come. But yeah, so you can see me, hear me pretty good?
Yeah, I can hear you all good now, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I was just going to start echoing the same things you're saying, where, yeah, I'm having the same kind of experience. I'm really liking the story. It's super intriguing, mysterious. I want to know more. I love the atmosphere. I really love the obvious inspiration. So you have like the alien stuff from the alien, universe, the alien movies rather. So you have a lot of that influence here. You have a little bit of, and it's been echoed before or talked about before, but like Control with how you kind of move around and the speed, although the speed is way faster than something like Control. the speed in the gameplay can kind of hurt it a bit, where, like you said, you're kind of moving too fast when you're platforming, and I've fallen off stuff many times, and kind of not been as pinpoint as I would like to be. But the gunplay is really, really, really fun. It is very difficult, so that's something I'm experiencing now, where it's pretty difficult. I would love some kind of options there. There's a lot of the internet is talking about that as well. And if not difficulty options, which I understand, the very least, being a bit more friendly with the save aspect of it. Or at least letting me know when I'm really saving something and what's transferring over, like you're talking about too. Even when I'm picking up little doodads, I don't know what the hell they do. For a while, it took me way too long to figure out, the green stuff gives you health, but it felt like only sometimes it would give you health, or not all the way give you health. And yeah, it was a lot of that. But I'm okay with that, with me trying to taking the time to learn the world. Like I'm okay with those hurdles there. But I would have liked stuff maybe explained a little bit better. I know there's a lot they're juggling at the same time, but I'm at the point where I'm not so frustrated where I'm going to stop playing it for sure. But with them talking about maybe, updating the game and adding some kind of save feature that's a bit more friendly, if they start to do that, I might put this on hold for a bit and jump back in at a later time, because I don't want to get so burnt out where I'm not liking the game, because I'm really positive on it and I want to keep that going. So I want to give them the time to maybe add those things, which would really appeal to me, because I'm such a baby when it comes to difficulty. I'd love for them to add that. I can jump in, have more fun. But at the point right now, I'm not burnt out. Like I'm still, when I die, I'm still having fun jumping back in. I think I experienced that same first boss. Is it like the triangle dude with the 3 arms? Did you experience that boss? Yeah. I started playing with or fighting him, and for the beginning of it, his health bar is starting to go down. I'm like, okay, I feel pretty good. And then I drain that, and then he's still alive. And I look closer, and there's like 3 tiers to that level. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to beat him ever in my life. Okay. So, and I died and then had to restart. But yeah, I'm having the same kind of experience you are. I'm really interested in digging it. They're just little tiny bits I would love to see adjusted. But how do you feel about them modifying the save thing like the internet is talking about right now?
I actually don't think that is necessary, and I actually think it would just ruin the kind of main structure of the game. I think the main problem is more to do with there's not enough that carries over on each run. So there's not enough because if you were to play a game like Hades, if you were to die, you wouldn't mind, because you know that you're going to come back stronger next time. But I just don't think there's enough of that in Returnal. There's not enough of these permanent upgrades, or it's not like every single kill is making you stronger, so that if you die next time you'll be stronger, so it doesn't matter if you die. I think it doesn't need saves, just because once you do something like a main objective, it will save that, it will track that. Like for example, when you break the barrier, or even when you get to the boss, then every time you die, your objective is now kill that boss, and you'll be able to get to him relatively easily. As long as you can get past, the normal enemies. So I don't think that, for me personally, I don't think adding a save system, maybe a way so that you can at least come off your PlayStation and go back in to your cycle, that makes sense. But I don't think the runs are ever that long that you really sort of need to do that. And I've heard that when you get to like the other biomes, you can fast travel to them. So when you get to like the next area, you can just fast travel straight there. And things like that. So, I can definitely see the frustration of people who maybe are on a really long run and they want to go off or play something else, but they can't do that without breaking their cycle. I definitely get that. But I don't think having checkpoints or anything like that is necessary, just because it's a roguelite. It shouldn't have things like that. And it already still tracks your progress in a way where where it will know when you've done something really important and sort of not make you have to do all that again. So I think in that respect, it's fine. I think, like you were saying, it just needs to explain itself a little bit better. It needs to have a better upgrade system, a better progression system in general. I think that's what is lacking. And to sort of go back onto the like platforming, I think it reminds me a lot like Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man games, where when it's all in flight, when everything's going fast, it's great. But as soon as you're trying to do a more slower, just movement-based thing, it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't they just haven't really focused on those slower moments, except for the first person moments. Obviously, they're a little bit they're obviously fine, but even then they're quite irritating because you can't fully look up or fully look down. So
right,
I even found those were a little bit not the best as well. But yeah, I mean, they're just some of the things that are little niggly things. The game itself plays really well. It looks great. It sounds amazing, and feels really nice to play. It does just have some teething issues, which I think are to be expected with Housemarque making their first foray into such a complicated and big and sort of technically different game to what they normally make. But I mean, you've got to remember that they make arcade bullet hell games. So if you look at Resogun, for example, in Resogun, every time you die, you start again. I know it's not exactly the same, but the only thing you get from each of your Resogun runs is you're just getting better at the game. So I don't know if that's the kind of thing they're going for, and that will be much harder for people to realize because it's not like visually trackable. The fact you're just getting better, you're learning the enemy's movements, you're getting better with the weapons and everything like that. So maybe it's there just seems to be a bit of a disconnect in how it communicates to the player that you're improving and you're getting stronger, which I think could maybe be done a bit better.
No, I think you're exactly right there where, and I kind of understood that they're going for this more arcadey feel, of course, with that roguelike setting. And so I understand going in that there's going to be this style of gameplay. And I think when you are moving around, they're really nailing that sense of speed and action. And it's a blast to play when all that stuff is working. I have the same feelings with some of the platforming when you're slowing down. But even all this, like, I'm still willing to give them that wiggle room because this is a huge game for them to, come out with. There's the spotlights on them, and their stuff before is, these kind of smaller experiences that are still amazing. But this is their first crack at like this, single player style of gameplay with the story involved in this open world setting or this, huge world setting. And then still adding their arcadey kind of bits to it, which I think is awesome. I think for overall, they nail it. It's just, these little bits that I would love to see tweaked, but it's still not enough to turn me off at all. I think it runs amazingly well on PS5. It looks beautiful. How are you feeling about the actual like next gen haptic feedback stuff and the audio stuff?
Yeah, it feels great. The DualSense is used really well with it. The vibrations are so like subtle, but really effective as well. It looks amazing. I've been thinking about maybe turning the brightness up just because it is so dark in that first place. I do find myself thinking, I can step off of here, and then I just end up falling. It looks great. I can't wait to get to the other biomes where it be different color palettes, and we might be able to see the ray tracing better used and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, it looks and plays really nicely. I think the soundtrack is really, really great as well. Really uneasy and sort of unsettling. It definitely reminds me of like the Alien or like Prometheus soundtrack, which they definitely seem to have taken some inspiration from. But yeah, I think it definitely is showcasing what these machines can do. I'm not sure. I think particle wise, it definitely looks next gen, and the way obviously it's very free flowing. But I haven't seen a huge amount yet to really separate it from last gen. I mean, obviously, there's lots. This game wouldn't be able to run the way it does on PS4, but I'm still yet to see. Like you've got with Ratchet and Clank. I mean, that in no way would be able to on last gen.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I've got no quarrels with how it looks and how it runs or anything like that. But yeah.
Yeah, your boy Turdman95 was chiming in on the chat saying he's hoping to get this game. He's bookmarking a lot of alerts for the PS5. Seems like it's still tough to get in the UK. Well, really around the world for sure. Even though they're selling a bunch somehow, nobody really has one. But there's a lot of attention on this game as far as this feels like the first big next gen game on PS5. Yeah, we had Spider-Man, we had Demon Souls, but after that initial launch, like this feels like the first big title to release with. So I think there's a lot of attention on this. I'm excited to see, the reception overall. Hopefully Housemarque is able to, upgrade and capitalize on this success. I think they're, I guess it's too early to see the sales yet, but I wonder how this thing's going to sell. I think there's a lot of hype for it, a lot of attention. I'm overall super positive. I wouldn't mind the little tweaks there, but even if they don't, I guess I just got to get good and got to, keep working at it. Although there's this conversation that floats around in my head about difficulty and adjusting that difficulty in games. So with a game like this, does it really hurt the developer to add modifying stuff? Like there is accessibility options. There's some limited options in the menu I was looking at. So they're willing to adjust those sliders for people to actually play the game when it comes to color stuff, different accessibility issues. But is it also a crazy step to let people adjust either how powerful your weapons attack with or how much damage you take, if not the save thing? Is it that crazy to ask for these kind of things? Because I mean, does if you do that, if you add these difficulty sliders or options, does that hurt somebody else's playthrough? It's like, it's just kind of my own isolated playthrough. I want to adjust it so I have a bit more fun, but it's still challenging. Is that really hurting anyone else at the end of the day? I wouldn't mind stuff like that. And I don't think that's a crazy thing to ask. Does that mean that they're compromising on their artistic vision if they offer those, difficulty adjustments?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a hard one because people should be able to play, any game they want to. But then again, I think with games like this, I think the particular difficulty is a big part of why it's so good. I'm still yet to really know if this is the case with Returnal, just because I haven't got far enough. But if you're to look at like Dark Souls or Sekiro, sometimes the best parts of these games are the fact that they are so hard. Because without them being so hard, you wouldn't get that satisfaction of learning the combat system or unlocking these shortcuts so you don't have to do this really difficult route to get to this place again. If you could just play these games on easy, then there just wouldn't really be much, there'd be no satisfaction of unlocking these shortcuts. There'd be no satisfaction of beating these bosses or anything like that. And I think a lot of these games do rely on that sort of sense of progression through something that is hard to that's a big part of why they are so good. And I think some, maybe when they're making these games, they might think, well, if we give the player this choice, then loads of people will play it on this other setting that we haven't really designed the game around, and that might give them a negative experience in the game because they might think, well, there's nothing to this game. It's just you just walk through and kill everything. There's nothing to it. So yeah, I don't really. I can see both sides, but I think that frustrating first few hours with a game, that is just what it's like for everybody, and you just have to get past that and just learn, the game and how to play it and everything like that. And I think if you can't get past those first few hours because it's too frustrating, then that's fair enough. But if you do just stick with it, that's where the real fun and satisfaction of these kind of games comes from.
Yeah, I hear that, but at the same time, I don't see the harm in it at the end of the day, because like the gameplay is so satisfying where if you do have a baby mode, like I'm still going to have fun with it. I'm still going to enjoy it, but I understand that maybe there's game breaking aspects of reducing the difficulty and you don't have that payoff. I do understand that. But at the same time, like I don't think it really hurts anybody. You have my money. I'm not asking for like the game code or anything like that. I'm just asking to maybe let me have a bit more fun with it according to my playstyle preference. But of course, yeah, if I keep going, I'll get better at it. And it's a different situation compared to like Demon Souls. There's been a lot of that conversation with this game in Demon Souls where you just have to get good at it. I was terrible at Demon Souls. I really, really sucked. And this one, I can, even though it's hard, I can see the carrot on the stick, and I'm progressing. I'm having fun, and I'm actually unlocking stuff. I'm dying a lot, but that's fine. So I'm having a way more enjoyable time with this game. But yeah, it's just I wouldn't mind at the end of the day. I wouldn't mind some difficulty sliders. I don't think it really hurts anything, but I guess it's just it's a conversation we're always going to have with these games, especially like as we go forward, where the idea of accessibility comes into play. It's like, why not let people kind of adjust as they want to? But I also understand not compromising on that, your overall message and what you want to, create with this gameplay and with the feeling of actually, succeeding on something and finishing a boss and all that. So I get it. I'm mixed, but I'm not, even though I'm kind of chiming in on that, like, on that perspective, I'm still having fun with it, and I'm not going to quit or anything like that. It's just at the same time, wouldn't mind a little bit. I think of like Control. When I was playing Control, after about 6 or 8 months, there was an update where they allowed you to adjust how powerful your moves were, how much damage you took, how long it took for your weapons to regenerate the ammo. So it gave you that options, and I was still having a blast playing it. So I don't. That's my key inspiration. Where it's like I don't know if you compromise on anything by adding that stuff where it's totally optional. If you want to do that, you can, and if you don't, you can play it as God intended, as House Marquee intended. There's also games like The Last of Us 2 or Last of Us 1 as well, or Fallout. They have those extra uber hard modes that let you, and they often have a little message saying, hey, you can play this, but it's brutally hard, go for it. So they often will add that stuff, but why is it then crazy to add something that's on the easier side? So I don't know, I'm torn on it, but it's still not enough to sway me at all from playing this game. Alrighty, Callum Monroe, so you still hear me, see me okay? The 5G's coming in?
All good. Yeah, all coming through.
Gotcha. So yeah, we'll end some Returnal talk there. It'll be interesting to see after a week with this game, how I feel about it. So I'm about like 3 hours in, so it's pretty early to tell, but I am having a blast playing it. Alrighty, Callum. So let's move on to the next one. We talked a bit about the Resident Evil Village demo, so we'll kind of quickly go through this one. Capcom extends availability of the convoluted Resident Evil Village demo. This is Liam Croft at pushsquare.com. The 24-hour period that was originally supposed to start in either 1st or the 2nd of May, depending on where you live in the world, will now last for 7 days. The demo itself will only allow you to play for 60 minutes across both the village and castle locations, but now you no longer have to worry about fitting it all in a specific time. In addition to this, it was also announced, so Capcom has delayed Resident Evil Reverse, the multiplayer game originally set to launch alongside Resident Evil Village. An update to the Resident Evil Village Reverse website explains that Reverse will launch summer 2021. Not a huge bummer for me. I really wasn't, I didn't mind like jumping in and trying it, but I wasn't super excited for that. But we talked about it, but looks like you're going to have a full week to play this game. But really, next weekend, this thing comes out.
Yeah, it's I can't express how fortunate I am to be able to play a demo for a whole week. It is very, very kind of Capcom to allow me to access their demo for that large amount of time.
Right. Are you bummed about Reverse being delayed at all? How do you feel about that?
I honestly sort of forgot about it. I have heard it is quite good though. Got a friend who's really into Resident Evil, and he played the beta, and he said it is actually really, really good fun. So I just find it difficult to get excited for multiplayer games. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's a bummer if it's been delayed, but it might be because of the beta. They might have some things they want to tighten up. So
yeah.
So yeah, hopefully it will just come out a better sort of all-round package because of it.
Gotcha. Well, Callum, let's move on to the next one. So this demo blew me away. I mean, man, I can't explain like how many times my jaw dropped, and I was just like super turned on at the same time. It was very weird. But we got the Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. They had a dedicated state of play this week, showing off PS5 gameplay in 4K, 60 frames per second, ray tracing, all that jazz. You've watched this demo, I imagine, and bits of it. How do you feel about? We can kind of pick it apart and just talk about it. But what were your takeaways from this demo? I think this is our first like meaty look at lengthy gameplay, like in engine gameplay. It was quite a long demo, but how do you feel about watching this?
It's honestly one of the incredible things I've ever seen. I just don't even understand how it's even real. Like, it just looks just unbelievable, I think, and the story looks great. I'm glad we got a more detailed story trailer. I think it looks really funny, very Ratchet and Clank-esque, and I'm just so excited to this is going to be one of those games I'll just not be able to put down as soon as I start it. I can already tell. And yeah, I think it already looks like, I mean, I don't even know how it can possibly not be amazing. I just don't. I mean, just playing Ratchet and Clank before, that formula they always have, there's just no way that this can be anything else but, incredible. So I'm so excited for it. And I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be up there for one of the best games of the year, I'm sure. And that's without me even playing it. But it'd take a huge, like, apocalyptic mistake to make it anything other than sort of amazing, right, just by looking at the trailers and the demo.
Yeah, no, I mean, watching the gameplay, it was just, it looked so good. It made me angry for some reason. It was just like, it has no sense, or like, how dare they make this game just look so goddamn gorgeous. It's insane. It's really, and this is the first year of the PS5 too. Like, to get a game like this, usually, if you look back to like PS3, PS4 era, it's like you get Last of Us at the end of PS3, you get Last of Us 2 at the end of PS4, and so many games in between there that are pushing the limit. This one is already seems like it's maxing out the hardware, but there's no way it is. It's only going to get better. So it's just insanely beautiful. But the not only that, like the gameplay looks as it has before with all the Ratchet & Clank games. It's super tight. The gunplay looks really fun. I think they're going to absolutely nail it with this release, and I can't wait. I wish it was sooner, man. I really wish it was sooner. But there's definitely stuff we can play in the meantime. But what is it? I don't have the date pulled up, but it's June-ish. It's around summertime, I know for sure. Yeah. But yeah, no, I can't wait. We got a lot of gameplay that we got to see. You got to see more of the female character, the female wombat. I know it's like related to Ratchet naming sound kind of title. What's her name? What was it again?
Rivet.
Rivets. There we go. Yeah.
Rivet, yeah.
So you got Rivet in there. Yeah, it looks incredibly amazing. I don't know what else to really say besides I got to play this game and it can't get here fast enough. But yeah, it just blows me away how we're getting this the first, not the launch year, I guess, yeah, launch year of PS5. It's something like this, at this caliber. So it's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's difficult to even talk about. It looks that good that there's just nothing even else left to say. I mean, it's already said everything there is to say just by showing it off. And yeah, it just looks bad. And you say, this is just the first year on PS5, and that's true. And it's also Insomniac's second PS5 game, so
right.
It's pretty incredible that they're able to, make these games so close to one another with such high production value as well. Because Miles Morales is still, for me, one of the best PS5 experiences I've had as well, in terms of like technical sort of how it looks, how it plays, and everything. So, yeah, I'm super, super excited. It's definitely the game I'm most excited for this year, even topping Resident Evil 4 on Oculus. So I'm very excited.
Now, I wonder too with the future of Insomniac. So, do they go back? I know they're working on Spider-Man, the next like legit sequel behind the scenes. You have to imagine they are. I think they've confirmed that. So that's coming down the line. Would you like to see them work on a new property? They have, with this engine that they are able to, produce these visuals and this performance. I wouldn't mind them tackling something new, or the big elephant in the room is what if they use this engine to bring back Resistance? Like that would be mind blowing if they're able to actually allow it to go back and like bring this title back and put it on PS5. It'd be nuts.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I'd love to see Resistance, I just can't imagine Insomniac doing it. I think if we were to see Resistance, it'll probably be elsewhere that it will come. But yeah, I mean, that would be the dream, because Insomniac is just such a good studio. Whatever they work on, it's going to be amazing. But yeah, I think that the way they've spoken about Resistance in the past, it doesn't sound like it's something that they want to revisit. And I think if anything, it would probably just get like a remaster of the trilogy, which I doubt they would do anyway, just because that's normally something that's given off to somebody else to do anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you know, I'd love to see that game make a comeback, even if it is just the remastered trilogy. That'd be enough for me. But yeah, hopefully one day.
Yeah, hopefully. But either way, I'm excited for what they're working on behind the scenes. It's insane. The level that they're able to produce these games and the quality and the performance levels. And yeah, so I'm just can't wait for Ratchet Rift in Time. Rift Apart, right? Rift in Time? I'm merging titles together. Alrighty, so
something to do with rifts.
Something rifts in time and quests for booties.
Yeah.
Callum, our next one here. Had some news about Last of Us 3, possibly. So we got Last of Us 3 story outline has been written, says Niel Druckman. This is Liam Croft at PushSquare.com. Naughty Dog co-president Niel Druckman has confirmed during an episode of the Script Apart podcast that he and co-writer Haley Gross have completed work on a story outline to a sequel to The Last of Us Part 2. When asked about the possibility of a follow-up to Ellie and Abby's journey through Seattle and beyond, Druckman explained, "I don't know how much I want to reveal. Co-writer Haley Gross and I did write an outline for a story that we're not making. but I hope one day we can see the light of day. That explores a little bit of what happens after this game. We'll see. So this kind of blew up online. I guess I never really thought about Last of Us 3, or put it out of my mind, but as this kind of comes to light, there's aspects of it that I think could be dope if they do revisit it and continue the story along. But how do you feel about them having this script, or having a concept really that they're kicking around and them going back into The Last of Us?
Yeah, I think weirdly, what I'd like to see is what happens with Abby and I can't even remember the name of the kid in it.
Liv or
Lev or Liv or something like that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what happens to them when they go off on the boat, and obviously they're in search of those fireflies. I think that could be quite an interesting story. I just, the weird thing is, I love the first Last of Us so much. I love the second one as well, but I just feel like Ellie's just, her story's done now, I think. But I'd still love to see what happens with Abby and everything. But I'm not sure why those two characters' paths would cross again. I don't know. I think no matter how that would happen, I think it would just feel forced unless they can think of like a really clever way to make them meet up again. But yeah, if it was just about Abby and Lev, then I'd be completely on board with that. I think, again, similar to Insomniac, whatever comes out of Naughty Dog will be great. So you can't be disappointed with anything really that any ideas they have or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I'd definitely be up for playing it. I'm sure it'll probably batter me like the second one did and make me feel really strange for weeks on end after completing it. But yeah, it'd be cool to see more of it.
Yeah, I'm thinking just like thematically, because, and someone else had posted up online where the second one is so heavy and so dark that the third one isn't going to be lighter and happy and funny, but like maybe it's a shift in tone would have to kind of be for the third one, because they've just been getting darker and darker. If not like a full-blown shift in tone, maybe something where these two characters combine to actually like work together, and you see that progression in their relationship where they actually become friends or lean on each other for some kind of situation that happens. I feel like that could be really dope to put them together and have them grow that connection as just a way to juxtapose like the second one and how you had them at opposites. But I feel like it's going to be their stories together. And Ellie's such a huge character, I don't think they'd leave her behind. So somehow they'd have to like interact and be part of that story. And I would guess together. But there's a lot they leave at the end of Last of Us 2 that a lot of unanswered questions, rather, with Ellie and her girlfriend. I forget her name. Why am I blanking on that? But what happens with their connection, their relationship, and does she go and, I guess I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but like, do they try to can bring that connection back? Is it just about Abby and Ellie? How does that work? Or just about Abby and Lev? I think it's Lev or something like that. Yeah. But either way, yeah, I'm just like you. I'm on board. I think there's a lot they could mine there with the story and still connect these characters to it. I don't think they necessarily have to like bring new characters in. But either way, it's going to be a good 7-8 years before we see anything like this, come out of it. Probably the end of the PS5 generation. But once I saw this, the gear started turning. It's like, I'd actually love to see Dina. There we go, Turdman. Thank you. I'd love to see them go back to this story and maybe like a final cap off, of actual like conclusive end to the Last of Us storyline. All right, Callum, there's a little bit left on that interview with Niel Druckman on that podcast. So he explains why the Last of Us movie fell apart. The movie adaptation of The Last of Us fell apart because there was too much focus on big action set pieces that did not suit the story, according to game director Niel Druckman. Talking to the Script Apart podcast, Druckman said, "When I worked on the movie version, a lot of the thinking and notes were like, how do we make it bigger? How do we make the set pieces bigger?" Druckman did not point fingers as to who in the studio system provided these notes, but he said that the approach was responsible for the film's downfall. It didn't work for The Last of Us, and I think that's ultimately why the movie wasn't made, he said. And of course, now we have the HBO series that's taken off and following the actual game directly. But at one point, they're floating around the idea of an actual movie version of The Last of Us, which I think is a good move to not do that. But how do you feel about them? Why this movie possibly fell apart with The Last of Us and trying to make it actiony?
Yeah, I think good on him to sort of stand up for his own story and not allow sort of big movie studios to just put all their explosions all over it. And it also, I think, bodes well for the series because it shows that he's obviously not allowing these sort of tropes and things to enter this sort of adaptation of The Last of Us. So it shows that the series should probably be pretty close to the kind of vibe that we already sort of get from the game, and I think that's the most important thing with these kind of things.
Yeah, and the idea of I imagine the studio giving him this pushback where it's like everything needs to explode, and we need to have these huge scale set pieces, and really thinking of like how the trailer's going to look, kind of thing. But that doesn't really work for The Last of Us. I know he explained like when they are actually thinking of the theme or the direction for the original game, they're almost making like an indie movie kind of version of how this would play out. So the idea of having, Transformers involved or somehow Fast and Furious, influences with like Last of Us, yeah, that sounds like a nightmare, and it would be a disaster. So I think it's a great idea to do the shift they did where they're going to more serious episodic, content with HBO where they can really drag stuff out and take their time. And yeah, I think that was a great decision.
But you've now made me really interested in the Transformers Last of Us crossover, because Transformers just like come from like a different planet, don't they? So what if they came to Earth whilst this apocalypse was happening? That'd be good, actually.
I like where head's going.
Why did Niel Druckman not want?
Exactly, yeah. And if you somehow get that mushroom virus infects the Transformers, and they're this weird twisted version, like, dude, that could be dope. Maybe actually they should go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
They got something there. Alrighty, Colin, we got some news on PS5 sales. So we got Sony has sold 7.8 million PS5 consoles. This is Sam Byford of TheVerge.com. Sony has sold 7.8 million PS5 consoles as of March 31st. The company says in its latest earnings report, the number of PlayStation Plus subscribers is now 47.6 million, a 14.7% increase year on year. The fourth quarter figures bring the overall PlayStation business to a total operating profit of 342.2 billion yen, or $314 billion for the 2020 financial year, a record for Sony. Also from March 2020 to March 2021, Sony sold an eye-watering 58.4 million first-party games on PlayStation 5 and PS4. That's just 17% of the total 338.9 million games sold for the systems during the aforementioned term. As interesting asides, PS4 has now sold more software than any other console in history, outperforming the previous record holder, PS2. It's all great news. Somehow they're still selling PS5 consoles, even though I don't know who's actually getting them, whether it's just scalpers or what have you, but it's doing pretty good.
Yeah, I think it was always going to, however many they had, I think they were always going to go. Because that's just how it works when new consoles, tend to come out. But yeah, it is strange to hear that they're selling so well, but the main voice that you hear are people can't get their hands on them. But I suppose they're both sort of, one can only happen if the other's true as well. You can only have people saying they can't get them if they are selling lots. Yeah, it's great for PlayStation, and but yeah, I think it's just something that we've come to expect now, with the same thing happening with the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3 and the PS4. But yeah, I mean, this year in particular has been a lot worse. Just I think everybody's more online now as well, more vocal online, so you hear more people whining about it. And obviously with COVID and just being generally low. But yeah, it's just crazy how many of these things are being sold. I'm sure most of them are just in some person's basement that they've bought them all, and they're selling them all for like £2,000 or whatever. But yeah, it's scary numbers.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think. I mean, if we didn't have the whole Corona situation, how much more they would have sold. I think they would have still ran into roadblocks where they just can't produce enough of these fast enough, even though they had full production change, working, full steam ahead. I think they'd still have issues. But if there wasn't this crazy pandemic, I imagine they would have just, everybody and their grandma would have too, if they could, like they would have just sold absolutely insane numbers. So, but that we are in the world we are, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully it improves this next year. I know with the whole chip situation, it's related to the graphics cards as well. I know NVIDIA had said that would they expect like not until 2022 for anything to start turning around. So I think it's going to be still tough for the next gen consoles. A lot of these chip manufacturers are increasing their production abilities, like they're adding various facilities. I think I blocked you or I lost you there. Oh, okay, you're back. They're ramping up and creating more factories, more production lines, but that still takes time before you see any benefit from that. So I think 2022, that not until then will we see some like actual improvement on how people can get these consoles.
Yeah, but I bet you feel very, very smug though with your 3070 and your PS5.
Yep. I put that on my dating bio now.
You got both of the things.
Yeah, I'd say I got lucky here. Yeah, I know with the PS5, when that initially was it last summer, they dropped their pre-orders, and there was a whole issue with that, how they dropped them, and it was very strange. But I was able to get one there, and I just got in, and I had enough time where I just sat by my computer and my phone and was trying to secure one as quickly as possible. But yeah, it's not easy, especially if you're expecting to go into the store, which a lot of people do. They wait till they can go into their local store and get one. There's no way you can do that. So until they actually create that as an option, it's just going to be tough to get these things.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well. I think if somebody does have a PS5 or a 30 series graphics card or whatever, I think in a weird way they can sympathize with the people who are struggling to get one even more, because actually getting one of these things, to get one, you have to sit for hours, like refreshing and going to all the different websites and just trying to get one. I mean, it took me literally like 6 hours of just sitting in front of my computer and just hitting refresh on all the websites I could until I finally got one. So, and you don't know whether these people who haven't got them have even tried that hard to get them or not. So I think, I know that a lot of people obviously get angry with people who do have them, but I think, yeah, in a weird way, those people probably can sympathize better than anybody else with you, because we've gone through that frustration hugely to be able to even get one in the first place.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's an annoying struggle that shouldn't have to be there, but is there, where, yeah, you have to dedicate a lot of time. You also have to just have the luck aspect in that as well. Like, you can try all you can, but if you don't just luck out on top of that, then you're not able to secure one. So yeah, anyone who's walking around, just doing that Conor McGregor thing with their arms because they got one, like those are assholes. It's like everyone else knows the struggle is real and it's tough to get these things.
Yeah.
All right, Callum. We'll move on to the last one here. Long-running official PlayStation magazine becomes Play Magazine. This is Wesley Yin-Poole of YourGamer.net. The long-running official PlayStation magazine has become Play Magazine, making the end of official video game magazines. OPM, which has been going for 25 years, was the last officially licensed console magazine in the UK after official Nintendo magazine closed in 2014, and then official Xbox magazine closed in 2020. In a FAQ, Future Publishing said, all good games come to an end. All good things come to an end, rather. And along with Sony, we felt that the official PlayStation magazine had finally earned a well-deserved retirement. However, we still love PlayStation and magazines, and we know you do too, so Play Magazine came to life. However, the same editorial team behind OPM is making Play, with previous editor Ian Dean at the helm. It's a better outcome than that experienced after Future folded official Xbox magazine, letting its staff go. I butchered that last one there. But are you a fan of these video game magazines? I know I started as a kid reading these, and that just further fueled my my passion for video games. This is a big deal for this official PlayStation magazine to finally not go away, but change into this across the board video game magazine. But how do you feel about this changing of the guard, basically?
Yeah, I used to love magazines. I used to get. I've read a lot of official PlayStation magazine. There was one called PSM3 as well, which is in the UK, which is like a little bit of a sort of a slightly smaller one. But I found, because of that, I thought the content was like a little bit better as well. But yeah, I think nowadays there's just so much better ways to get this information. I mean, and I think that the best way is probably through social media. I know that social media is awful and terrible, and the stuff people say on there are horrible. But I think the fact that social media is where things are announced, where the first time you ever hear anything is posted, and then you also get to see the straight away reaction from people, for better or worse. I think that adds a lot of just additional information, because you get to see how people are reacting, why they're reacting to it in that way, and yeah, I just don't think magazines are really just necessary anymore. And I always find that they're a lot of content as well. You know, it's just a group of writers who write a huge amount, and it just can't be cost effective to have that much time go into something that is probably just not being read by many people anymore. I mean, even online sort of news sites are going under as well because of videos being more and more popular. So
Yep.
yeah, I think it's definitely an industry that I would imagine, I mean, I don't know enough about it, but I'd imagine is not going to last much longer. But then again, you have those people who like to collect, things like Empire magazine with all their different covers, and Edge magazine that do all their different limited edition stuff. But yeah, but as far as me personally, I could be completely wrong, but I can't imagine magazines lasting much longer. Just overall.
No, I think you're right about that. It's a dying industry, and it's sad, that to see this thing go, because I have such fond, nostalgic memories. Although at the same time, I'm not buying these things to still support it. I haven't bought a magazine of any kind in years, so it's like it is what it is. It's a bummer, and I love these things, but you nailed it. Where it's like the internet is now where it's going, where you want this news immediately, and you have these outlets that are able to do that. At least with Game Informer, they still do the physical magazine producing or publishing, but they have more of a footprint online and all their videos online. So I think that's the way to go. So shift there and have your presence there, because the internet that's the future. I mean, it's just not something that we're doing anymore, reading these magazines. So it's a bummer, but it's also, that's just kind of how things go. It's it's the next frontier, and that's what everyone's shifting to. And so it makes sense. But at the same time, like you said, with the moving everything to the internet, or mainly social media, you also bring the negativity of that and the weirdness of that. So it's a bummer. Like, I don't want to be on Twitter so much, because it sucks, but also that's where stuff drops, and like immediately, or any rumors or any bit of news, it's right there. So it's kind of this I'm caught between, where it's like, I don't want to be here because I'm going insane. But at the same time, I want to see when something gets announced and see what's going on. So it's tough, but I don't really have an answer or a button to put on that one. But that is where everything's going right now.
The good thing about magazines is that lack of not being able to see everybody's response to that bit of news straight away, because when if you read a magazine, you read it and then you form your own opinion, because there's nobody else to around you to influence that. Whereas now you see on Twitter, especially, all this sort of tribal mentality of these people who are in this like weird like console war thing, and they're like big names in that space, and they have all these like weird cringy followers who will just read what they say, and then just that's now what they believe, and you just you don't have anybody sort of thinking for themselves anymore. And I think maybe if more people read magazines, then that probably wouldn't be such a problem. But yeah, I think in a weird way, I do prefer to get news from social media, because I like to see the normal people speaking about what they think about it, or anything, or whatever. And also, we get quicker updates as well. We don't have to wait like every month, right, for all it to be jammed into one place. But yeah, it's a shame for sure. I mean, I love magazines, and I think it's always one of those things that I'll think every now and then, like, oh, I could, I might look at getting a magazine or something. In fact, I got an app on my phone which like lets you subscribe to magazines on there, and you can read them on there. And that was like something I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to start reading more magazines now. And I did it for like 2 days and then completely forgot about it. But yeah, it's a shame, because it's a great way to consume news about things you like, and find out especially like tech magazines, because they're always so robustly written. But yeah, it makes sense that it's dying out. It's just, it's very sad.
Yep, it's a bummer, but we'll see. Hopefully, at least in this case, all the editorial staff, they're all back on board, just working for this new shift in where the conversation goes on this magazine. So it's not Play magazine, but everyone's still on board. So that's a good positive part to it. But yeah, I think you got to kind of evolve or die in this kind of situation, and change it up. So we'll see. Maybe there'll be some kind of influx, just like with the demand for like, it's a different conversation, but vinyl records, those have blown up over the past decade, where people want that physical aspect of the music and want to be able to hold it. And of course, there's a conversation of like a better sound that happens from it. Maybe we'll see some kind of resurgence with people wanting magazines because of that. I highly doubt it. But even though we get more digital, there is a demand for various like physical, tactical things as we go forward. So I just don't think magazines will be lumped into that group as we go into the future. Alrighty, Callum, we can end it there for the week. It looks like the internet held up. It did pretty good.
Yeah, we had a couple of wobblies it through, but yeah. Hopefully, when we next talk, I'll have it all sorted, and I'll have some. I don't want to say super fast because I don't know if that's even possible with the line that's sort of near me, but hopefully it'll be more stable at least.
Maybe some dial-up, some pretty fast dial-up there.
Yeah.
Did you ever have AOL internet as a kid?
Yeah, I remember it. In fact, I think we had it when we shouldn't have, like when I think it was like quite out of date. Because I remember it quite well, but I'm pretty sure like broadband came in when I was like younger than I was when I was using dial-up. And yeah, I just remember the really strange like alien noises it would make. And
yep.
And it's like you hear people now saying like 5G like gives you like cancer or whatever, but I mean dial-up definitely sounded like it gave you something. I'm sure those sounds must have done something to your brain. Because they were very, like, they sounded like an alien was trying to communicate with.
Right. Yeah. It's a good point. Yeah. If people heard that now, they would think that Bill Gates is for sure listening to their calls and trying to do whatever with them.
Yeah.
All right, Cam, we'll end it there for the week. Where can they find you online?
Twitter @BearMonroe. And yeah, I don't even know if there's anywhere else that you can be online.
Nowadays, pretty much Twitter.
Really.
Yeah, that's really it. That's how I pay my rents, through Twitter. Alrighty, come. And you can also follow the show on Twitter as well, @PlasticArtPod. That's it for us this week. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
You're too late. I've already summoned meteors.